I'm going to do a couple of examples about testing a claim about a population mean. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into the example. So with alpha, the significance of the test equal 0.05, test the claim, the mean height of giraffes is at least 16 feet if a sample of 27 giraffes has sample mean x bar equal to 16.3 feet and sample standard deviation S equal to 1.4 feet. Okay, so the three usual things about a hypothesis test apply here. There's the setup, using the calculator, and then drawing the conclusion. And for the setup, I'm going to refer to the setup chart. Now the setup chart has p's in here for proportion, but because we're testing a claim about a mean, I'm just going to replace the p's with mu's for mean, but the chart still works. Now in the question, it says the height of giraffes is at least, so I'm going to look at the at least row in the chart, and that's going to give me the setup. So the claim, at least the claim is that mu instead of p is greater than or equal to 16. And reading across the chart, the opposite of this claim is that mu is less than 16. The null hypothesis is that now it's mu, not p. Mu is equal to 16. And this is from the original claim. And the alternate hypothesis, H1, is mu is less than 16 because the arrow is pointing to the left. It's a left tail test. That's the setup. Now we're going to go on to the calculator. On the calculator, we're going to go to stat tests, and the second one here is called t-test. And then I'm going to use the stats option, and for the stats test t-test with the stats option, the mu null is the mu value from the null hypothesis, which in this case was 16. So on the calculator, mu null is going to be 16. The x bar is the sample mean. X bar was given as 16.3. The sample standard deviation was given as 1.4. That's on the calculator, they call that SX is 1.4. The N, the sample size, it was 27 giraffes. I want to match the form of the alternate hypothesis here. Now the form of the alternate hypothesis was less than, so I'm going to arrow to the less than one and hit enter. So for this part, just to write it down here, the mu, highlight the part less than mu naught. And then when I hit calculate, The two numbers that I'm concerned about here, when I hit calculate, are the t equals 1.11 rounded off. This is what they call the test statistic. They're going to ask for that in the homework, but it's not going to enter into the rest of this question for us. And the all-important p-value, this 0.862, rounded off to 3 places. So now we're ready to draw the conclusion. Because p is 0.862, the significance of the test was 0.05. Since p is greater than alpha, that means fail to reject H null. And H null, if you go back to the setup, H null was from the original claim. H null from the original claim. And if I go to my conclusion wording sheet, fail to reject H null from the original claim. So fail to reject H null from the original claim. It's this box. There is not sufficient evidence to reject the claim. Not sufficient evidence to reject the claim. I'm usually too late to write it out. I'll just put 3 dots there. Okay, let me do one more example of this. Here's another example. With alpha equals 0.05, test the claim. The mean weight, we'll go with weight now, raccoons. I like to use animals or UFOs. Anyway, the mean weight of raccoons is less than 10 pounds if a sample of 23 raccoons has mean weight x bar equal to 9.5, 9.5, and sample standard deviation equal to 1.1. All right, I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit more here. So in this example, in the wording of the question is less than, so I'm going to look at the less than part of the setup chart. Now the p's are being replaced with mu's now because we're talking about a mean. So the claim is that mu is less than 10. The opposite, mu greater than or equal to 10. H null, mu equal to 10, and this is not from the original claim. And the alternate hypothesis, mu less than 10, because it's pointing that way, it's a left tail test. Now on the calculator, again, I'm going to stat tests t-test, stat tests t-test, and using the stats option, the mu null is 10. That's the mu value from the null hypothesis. The x bar, the sample mean, is 9.5. The sample standard deviation was given as 1.1. The sample size was 23 raccoons. and I'm matching the form of the alternate hypothesis here, which was less than. When I go to the calculate option, I get a t-value of minus 2.18 and a p-value of 0.02. So t minus 2.18, that's the test statistic. The homework will ask you for the test statistic. And then the all-important p-value, the 0.0201, I'm going to say 0.02. Now in this one, the conclusion, since p equals 0.02, the significance alpha was 0.05. 0.02 is less than 0.05, so p is less than alpha, which means we reject the null hypothesis. From the original claim, the null hypothesis was not from the original claim. Not original. And so on the conclusion chart, I go to the part where it says reject H null, not from the original claim, and the conclusion is the sample data support the claim. Sample data support the claim.